get x plus what? Get y. So that's all. Save this. Now run this page. Okay, suppose then click add button 400. Okay, no? So it's clear. So this is the procedure, like how to access UI component values from managed bin. Declare the variable, bind the variable with properties. Suppose I want the complete text box, not just what you binded is only value property. Okay, so I want the complete text box. Then what you do, sir, suppose once again, not these variables. So I want the complete text box. So this is the text box. I want to access this text box from managed bin. Now only we accessed value property now, but I want the complete text box. Then if you want text box, then declare one variable, private rich input text it1. If you want integer variable, how you declare? Private int x. Now you want text box. If you want text box, then so private rich input text it1. it2. Next, private rich input text it3. So I declared 3 text boxes. This variable is binded with, I'll bind this variable with what? First text box. I'll bind this variable with second text box. I'll bind this variable without text box. Okay, then again for this also you need to generate what? Access sets, compulsory access sets. Then so right click this, generate access sets. For all these three text boxes I need access sets. So generated the access sets, setters and getters. Without this access sets you cannot bind. Now go to this page. In this page, so this is the text box. Now what do you want to bind, sir? You want to bind only the value property or complete text box? The complete text box. Then how to bind the text box with okay, IT1, text box 2 with IT2, text box 3 with IT3. Okay na? Then so you want to bind this text box. Then see, every component, UI component is having one property, the property called binding property. Every UI component supports a property called binding property. So bind this text box. Binding. So bind this text box with what? Bind this text box with, there is a variable you declared IT1. So then like so edit, then it is asking the managed bin. In which bin you declared the variable? It is asking the bin, my bin. You declared the variable in my bin. So then it is showing the list of what? Variables declared inside the my bin. It is showing the list of variables declared inside the my bin. So with which variable you want to bind this text box? IT1. That means this text box end is binded to this IT1. Okay. In this list now, it is showing the list of variables now. In this list, it will show only the variables which are declared with rich input text. It will show the variables of what type? Rich input text type. So now in property it is showing the list of variables. It will show only the list of variables of type rich input text. It will not show any other variables. Okay, then so now text box 2, sir. This is text box 1, text box 2. So remove this value property. Now text box 2. Bind this text box 2 with what? Edit. Then what? My bin. Next IT2. Okay. And bind the text box 3 with IT3. So then my bin IT3. Okay. So after this, next write the code for add button. You already like add button. So add button action listener is set to this add to numbers. You go to the add to numbers, write the code. Whatever the code you write, that code is executed when you click what? Add button. Then so inside this add button you write the code. Then, so get the value entered in text box 1, get the value entered in text box 2, add the two values, assign that value to what? Text box 3. Okay, then how to get the value entered in the text box 1? What? Get ID1. Get ID1 is not, it written the text box, not value entered in the text box. You understood? Say get ID1 returns what? See that get ID1. Get ID1 is the method. So what is this method? Get ID1. What is the return type of this method? Rich input text. That means this returns what? Component. Get ID1 returns the UI component. But I don't want the UI component. I want the value entered in the UI component. Yes or no? So I do one thing, like see, now int a equal to, okay, 1 second, just see this dot what's that? Get ID1, but get ID1 returns what? UI component, but what you want? Value entered in the component. Then dot what's that? Get value returns what? The value entered in the component. So this dot get ID1 returns text box dot get value. So returns value entered in the text box. But if you see this get value dot what? Dot get value. This type is object set. 1 second. Dot what? Get value. Get value return type is what? Object. But what is the variable you declared? Integer. So typecasting is required now. Yes or no? You need typecasting. Then what? So you have to convert this object to type 2. Integer. Sorry. Integer. What's it? Parseint. Integer dot parseint. Integer dot parseint. Parseint takes what? String. Converts it to what? Integer type. Integer dot parseint. Parseint takes what? String. Converts it to what? Integer type. But what is the type of this object now? Convert this object to what? String. And convert it to integer. How to convert this to string? This one. Dot what? To string. Sir, this dot get ID1 dot get value returns object. Convert this object to type to what? String type. So then now this whole expression is converted to string. But my target variable is what? Integer type. So again this converted to what? Integer. How to convert this to integer? Integer dot parseint. Now next int b equal to what? Same thing. What? Integer dot parseint. This dot what, sir? Get it2 dot get value dot what, sir? To string. Next. Okay na? Then next add this a and b values, assign that value to what? Assign this value to what, sir? Third text box. Okay na? Then see 1 second. So this dot set it3. Sorry. This dot what, set? This dot get it3. So getting the what? Third text box. Get it3 return third text box. For the third text box, set value. So this returns what? Third text box. To the third text box you are setting the value. So a plus b. That's all. Okay, then so now save this. Now run this one. Save this and run this page. So what is the difference between the previous and this one is, previous one we exposed only the value property to the managed bin. Now in this example we exposed the whole UI component to the managed bin. Okay, sometimes like you want the whole component, sometimes only the value property. Text box value property is enough. Text box, there is a pop-up, but you want that pop-up in the managed bin. So that means the whole pop-up has to be exposed to the UI managed bin. So input, rich input, yes, these are all yes, predefined. And 400. Okay, okay now, then this is one method set. This is one method. This is second method. First one we exposed only the value, next the whole UI component. And another one, suppose what I'm doing is I'm creating a page. So when you are creating the page, now I'm creating a page. At the time of creating page, there is a called page implementation. At the time of creating the page, so okay, so there is a called page implementation. Expand this page implementation. So there are two options, sir. What is that? One is do not automatically expose UI components in a managed bin. Automatically expose UI components in a new managed bin. Okay, na? That means here if you select this option now, what happens is automatically these components are exposed to what? Managed bin. You don't need to expose this. So if you add a component to the page, then automatically that component is exposed to the managed bin. Now what we are doing is we are going to the properties binding, declaring the variables in managed bin binding. But if you select this one, automatically the component will be exposed to what? Managed bin. Okay, so UI components automatically expose UI components in a new managed bin. What is the bin name and what is the class name? What is the package? View.backing. But it's not recommended. But there is a facility, but not recommended. Why? Because, sir, actually in managed bin, I don't want all components. I want only the few components. Whatever the components you require for your managed bin, so expose only those components instead of exposing all the components. Yes or no? That's what we don't need. If you need all components, okay, but actually we don't need all components. We want only what are the components required for your task. Expose only those components. Don't expose all the components. If you take the previous example now, text boxes are exposed plus command button is also exposed to the managed bin. Actually we don't need command button. Okay, now there are 20 components on the page. All the 20 components are exposed to the managed bin. We don't want. We want only the few. That's why it is not recommended. But this is also one procedure, exposing components to the managed bin. Okay. So that's why better to select what? Do not automatically expose components. Okay.